Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60. In 1963, an artist known by the name of Johnny Mathis penned a song called Sweet Thursday. We start this afternoon's show with a lyric, slightly altered, of course, by Johnny Mathis and yours truly. It was on a sweet Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all had passed. Came the day I'd waited for you at last, and you were there with Soccer in 60 to spare. Yup. All right, folks. The rest of the week is done. We are here for your Thirsty Thursday footy fix. Welcome to Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health Systems. My name is Christian Philly 316 Phileman, and I'll be using that name until WrestleMania comes and goes in the next week. And joining me on the airwaves, the internet, and on your devices, God help us all, Tim the Killer Kolotz, still using WrestleMania names. Happy Thursday, buddy.
Happy Thursday, Philly, my man. You know, it's like Superfly Snuka coming off that top rope and landing on the Turkish Turk. I'm all about it, man. I'm here to crash into your Thursday with you, Philly. I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a great show today.
It will, and this is going to be a show about exercising the demons and venting frustrations. With the exception of Angel City, every team we cover on this show lost. This is a show about L's. And not the kind you would enjoy on 420 either. No, this is going to be a pod where we all commiserate because everybody lost. Everybody but Angel City FC. In addition to the recap, we have not one, but two guests on our show. First, from the Empire Strykers, Jimmy Nordberg, with some breaking news to share for Strykers fans. I got a chance to chat with Jimmy, so we're all going to watch and listen to that one later on. And our second guest, Timmy K, got to catch up with OCSC's Nico Benalcazar. So without further ado, let's rip off the emotional Band-Aids and get through this show. And shout out to everybody tuning in to 1490 AM, plus 98.1 FM in much of your Inland Empire, the KMED app, the Empire Strykers Instagram or YouTube, or anybody that's on demand watching and listening on your major podcast platforms. All right. Omnitrans. Experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans in partnership with the Strykers. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let us take care of the ride for you. Are you heading to the game? Hope. There is some hope. Hop aboard Omnitrans for a seamless journey to Toyota Arena. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip to cheer on the Strykers. Okay, so starts the show. And so we begin discussing the disappointment that's been LAFC. Tim?
It's a tough one, Philly. Couple of tough matches over the past few days. You know, the match last night against Miami, the match over the weekend. It's been a tough cookie to swallow, man.
Yeah. No cookies on this one. There was nothing sweet about this at all. It was more like, I don't know, I can't think of anything that's sour right now. It's like a bad batch of Sour Patch Kids. But anyway, let's start ripping this Band-Aid off real quickly. Yeah. Saturday, you referred to it. LAFC battled the lowly Houston Dynamo, a team that came in with 0 wins, 2 draws, and 4 losses. And of course, what does LAFC do? They lay an egg. They go from Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with their performance. For those who don't recognize that reference and are asking, who are those guys? Well, that same device that you use to get your news from memes will tell you exactly who Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are. So use your phone for productive purposes. All right. 8 changes to the starting lineups. Okay. Load management. That tells me a story. And the story is, here come the L's. LAFC loses on the road to Houston Dynamo. Jack McGlynn, formerly of the Philadelphia Union, scored the only goal in the 58th minute. And that was it. LAFC battled as much as they could, but they couldn't find the back of the net. They were skunked, goose-egged in Houston, and now they dropped to 3 wins, 4 losses, and 0 draws in the regular season. 9 points. There's the gut punch, Tim, the first of 2.
Yeah, that was a tough one to watch. I'm watching the game over the weekend, and I was just They didn't look good. And you mentioned it, 8 changes to the starting lineup. I don't know any team that can put in basically their second team and go up against a starting team like Houston, even without any wins. They're putting out their full first string. And like you said, the losses are going to come if you don't have 8 of your regular starters starting the match, Philly.
Well, to their defense, only letting 1 goal in the 57th wasn't the worst result. But either way, losing and handing a team their first win of the season, still piss poor. I'm sorry. There's just no other nice way of putting it. That's the easiest I can get away with not annoying the FPC. I will leave it at that. All right. So that brings us to last night. Inter Miami. Down 1-0 in the aggregate. Head coach Javier Mascherano played Messi and Jordi Alba for the full 90 against Toronto, and then utilized Louis the Biter / Lord of the Dark Arts Suarez, whatever you want to call him. They subbed him out, 60 or so minutes into the game. Interesting. So the game started off very well for LAFC. UC Riverside and former men's U.S. international Aaron Long punched the first one through. Away goals, massive. That puts LAFC with the aggregate of 2-0. At this point, Miami needed 3. Oh, and guess what? That's exactly what they got. But at first, Messi scores a goal, but it gets pulled back because there's a yellow card on Ryan Hollingshead. He takes the kick before anybody's set up. LAFC almost gets CONCACAF. Nothing happened. Fingers crossed. But then Messi did what Messi does and scores golazos after golazos. 35th minute, the equalizer. Okay. No problem. You only need 2 more, right?
Whoops. 2 more come.
Yeah, exactly. Allen with the shot that just bounces past Hugo Lloris. I think it was Hollingshead who made the play, tried to slide through, and I give him an A for the hustle on that. But then what happens? Ball gets launched up into the stratosphere. Hugo Lloris is boxed in, not able to make a play at the ball. It comes down right off of Igor Jesus' elbow or his arm or whatever part of his extended thing you want to call it, and it hits. And clearly, when VAR was utilized, it happened. So who else but Messi in the 84th minute? And that's how it ends. But LAFC had chances. They had several chances. Denny Bawanga, a couple of them. Timothy Tillman threaded a beautiful past him. Denny one-on-one with the keeper. What does he do? Nothing. And that's been the problem with LAFC this season. Danny Bawanga has not scored in 10 out of the last 12 games. This is a guy who's scored more goals than anybody in Major League Soccer in the last 3 years. He's completely snake-bitten this season, and it is beyond frustrating to watch, utilizing and looking at a team that is relying on kids that can't even legally hang out in a bar. For shame. All this money spent on this useless Frenchman, and they can't get a damn thing out of him. I thought maybe, just maybe, there could be a slight chance that Olivier Giroud scores in the game, which would make us all forget. But no, alas. No. Frustrating performance. The most disappointing LAFC performance I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and that last ball that you talked about with Tillman passing it into Bawanga on that one-on-one with the keeper, he has to do more with that. How do you try to go short side on that keeper when that's the only thing that he can cover? You got to go far side. You got to chip it over his head. Nobody's within 5 yards of you. Bawanga has got to bury that thing, and if they bury it, they move on. Because you're 2 minutes deep into injury time, and the game's going to end up tied with that. It was snake bitten. The jinx is on him, whatever it is. But Denny has got to start scoring because otherwise, LAFC is going to start trickling down the table down to where the Galaxy are.
I mean, start trickling. They're already there in 9th place. But anyway, LAFC now gets knocked out of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. The only good thing for LAFC supporters is their wallets aren't going to be built just yet because we know LAFC loves to take the money out of our accounts seconds after that final whistle. For this disappointing season of a team, if there's any silver lining, it's the fact that I won't have to spend money on a performance. Because who would they play? Either the Vancouver Whitecaps or Pumas. Anyway, that rids that demon. Coming into BMO Stadium on Saturday is the San Jose Earthquakes, a team that is up above LAFC, but not by much. Very, very close in terms of the table. They're sitting at 8th place. We welcome back, not we, because it's not me. I'm not going to be there. Chicho Arango will be making his return to BMO Stadium. He's currently leading San Jose, 4 goals. Tied also with Joseph Martinez. And Christian Espinosa is still the most dangerous player on San Jose, makes his return. And oh yeah, by the way, I almost forgot, Mark Anthony Kaye, who spent the first couple of years with LAFC, will also be coming back. With the way LAFC are playing, this is a must-win game to give the supporters, the fans, anybody that follows this team a little bit of a reprieve. Because quite honestly, it's been frustrating, a frustrating fiasco of a season for LAFC. San Jose Earthquakes, coached now by Bruce Arenas, they put in some pretty interesting and masterful performances. And I'm going to say they have the better run of form right now. They absolutely whipped the hell out of DC United this past weekend, 6-1. They tied the Sounders. They did lose a couple weeks ago to Charlotte, but that's neither here nor there. Big game against San Jose, and that's the story with LAFC. A very frustrating start of the season for LAFC. No CONCACAF, no more excuses to do load management. Now's the time to reassess, recalibrate, and refocus the season. McGrath Productions. Yeah, I'm venting, man. McGrath Productions is the official match photography provider to your MASL team, the Empire Strykers. They service much of OC and LA County as well as the Inland Empire. For all of your commercial photography needs, visit McGrath-Productions.com. That's MCGRATH-Productions.com or McGrath_Productions on Instagram. I know now that I can spell. Now, it's time to discuss the other disappointing MLS team in the area, and that's the LA Galaxy.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to match the energy of the disappointment that you have with LAFC, Christian, with Philly, on the Galaxy. The Galaxy are they're miserable. They're winless on the season. The only one win is in the CONCACAF Champions Cup against Herediano. That's seems like a year ago. And they're crashing and burning. In my notes, I have crashing and burning a bit, but no, they're crashing and burning a lot. It's like they hit an iceberg and they're going down. And this loss against Real Salt Lake on Saturday and then against Tigres on Tuesday night, at least they showed a little bit of fight against Tigres. The game against Real Salt Lake was just, I'm watching this and it was hard to watch because RSL takes 7 total shots, right? They get 2 on frame. How many saves does John McCarthy have in the entire game? None, because the only 2 goals that were on frame hit the back of the net, and it's 2-0. And I get that John McCarthy should and is the starting goalkeeper for this team, but when the Galaxy only put 1 shot on frame and it's easily saved by the goalkeeper, by RSL keeper Rafael Cabral, how does the team win? You know, the only saving grace is that Houston's coming in this week, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the game against RSL was it was a disaster, and I'm not sure how much more the fans are going to take of this before it's another revolt like it was at the start of 2023 and everybody just starts chanting, we want people's jobs. And I get it. There's a lot of the pundits that are saying, hey, you know, MLS does this purposely to the winners of MLS Cup and this and that, the other thing. But the reality is this. You go into the CONCACAF Champions Cup, you tie Tigres at home, you go into Mexico, which is a tough place to play, and you lose 3-2. And trust me, the scoreline didn't seem like a 3-2. It seemed like they lost 4-1. They did make it interesting with the 60th minute goal by Amir Garces. And they did get an earlier one in the game by Joseph Paintstill. But when you go down 2-0 before the 10th minute is over in Mexico, I don't care who you are. You're not, and you don't have a bunch of guys. You didn't even bring a couple of guys, 3 or 4 guys that have been getting playing time in MLS, didn't even make the trip So what are the Galaxy doing? That's my biggest vent today is what are they doing and how are they going to right this ship or can they? Because Gabriel Peck can't do it all. Joseph Paintsil had a great goal when the goalkeeper slipped, fell on his head. He picked up a loose ball in the box and was very clinical about his finish. But if you're not getting slips and falls by the goalkeeper, the Galaxy are not scoring goals, Philly.
No, they're not. But the irony of the game against Tigres is one of their own did score a goal, but it wasn't for them. It was against them. In that 10th minute that you talked about, Uriel Antuna was the one who put the second goal up on there. And here's a player who did feature for the Galaxy for a little bit. I mean, he played about 30 or so games, scored six or so goals for the team. There is a sense of irony in that for the Galaxy. But where are the goals coming from? Well, now with Paintsil and Peck around, you might see some stuff. But it's safe to say that the joy and the jubilation from having hoisted the cup, the race to safes, is now, it has to be over at this point. I've got friends that work for the Galaxy, and I know the employees were recently given and granted their rings. But now that's behind them. At this point, this season is turning out to be nothing more than a travesty. Winless in Major League Soccer. You said it. They did give some joy. The draw to Tigres was actually a very hopeful game. They did show some fight in the match in CONCACAF, but still, this is a team that's hurting badly. And will they turn it around? Can they turn it around? Honestly, at this point, I don't know. We're a quarter of the way into the season or so, and things aren't looking good. Is there really hope at the end of the horizon? Is Ricky Puig really going to help that much? The answer is yes, he will, but that's still down the road. There's still so much more footy that needs to happen between now and his return, and this team can't seem to get it together. Dare I say a hot take?
No.
If there's anything that's warm in Los Angeles, it has to be the seats of both head coaches on these MLS clubs. I'm just saying it's too early, and I'm not saying hot. Fine. Let me negate the word hot. Let's just call it a little warm.
Yeah. It's on a low simmer. I really think it's a low simmer. And will Ricky Puig make a difference? Absolutely. Is he worth at least 4 or 5 wins? Absolutely. Once he gets into game shape, though, I think the problem is going to be is that by the time he gets back, and this is not coming back anytime before July 4th weekend, July 5th, that whole week, more likely the following weekend, is there any time to salvage the season? And it might not be. The Galaxy might be too far gone. They're sitting with 0 wins, and they're bringing in a Houston team that is that's coming in, and their only win is against LAFC. So the Dynamo have given up 11 goals. Oh, okay. Yeah, the Galaxy have conceded 14. So they're a -9 on goals on goal differential. The only win, like you mentioned before, is against LAFC. So they're going to come in, and they're going to say, hey, we beat the first LA team. We're going to come beat the second one. And unless the Galaxy really finds somebody in the middle to be creative, to have greater than half a thought, 2 steps too late, it's going to be a really big problem. And Peck can't put the entire team on his back. Paintsil can't put the entire team on his back. And the rest of the midfield, I just need, Ramirez has got to go in there, and he can't score 5 goals. Paintsil has got to get on the score sheet, and Peck has got to be a little bit more creative out on that right wing, Philly.
Look, you said something about it might be too late. I wouldn't say it's too late, and it's not too late for either side because there's 34 games in a regular season in Major League Soccer. But all these teams, for the most part, have played 7. So, we do the math right there. There's still plenty of time to improve. Right. But 2 points is definitely not a great start for the LA Galaxy. 9 points is not a great start for LAFC. But with the way this season goes and with the way they keep extending the playoff format and allowing as many teams to slip by, we've seen it time and time again in Major League Soccer. Team gets hot, at the right time. The early parts of the season don't matter. The Seattle Sounders, so many times they made it to the finals when they started out the season rough. So there still is some time. There still could potentially be some faith, but it needs to start changing. Otherwise, you're going to say once they get to the All-Star break, which, by the way, another All-Star game against MLS All-Stars and Liga MX All-Stars. I think we've gotten to the point right now where we could do an East and West. Thank you, Donnie Bucks, Donnie Dollars, Donnie Garber. Let's actually do something. Forget the international clubs. Forget the league down south. Let's start to make Major League Soccer worth it, East and West. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. And that concludes that. Let's move on to another topic. But first, National Core, one of the nation's largest nonprofit affordable housing developers and a proud sponsor of your MASL team, the Empire Strykers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. To learn more about National Core and their mission, go to nationalcore.org. Tim, you know why I'm really sad talking about this segment right here, right now?
I am, Philly, but I need you to tell me anyways.
All right. Well, this will be the last time we actually recap an Empire Strikers game until November. And that really breaks my heart. They put in a valiant effort throughout the season. And we're going to recap this really quickly before we go to our interview with Jimmy Nordberg. He has some breaking news that you're all going to want and have to stick around to listen to. But a season that quadrupled the win total from last year, getting into the postseason. Their game against the San Diego Sockers, very low scoring. While 4-2 was the case, it was really a game dominated by San Diego. At one point, there was some faith because Marco Fabian did draw back one goal to put the Strykers within one, but then Gabriel Costa and Drew Ruggles fire a couple more goals. That's how it ends for the Empire Strikers. We're talking 4-2 in that. Of course, we had rookie from UC Riverside, Leopoldo Polo Hernandez, picked up a couple of dimes, and he really fought hard to earn minutes on the first team, and he really, really did. He's been playing a lot with the Empire Jets in the M2s, but he had a solid performance in that game. San Diego Sockers, 20 shots to the Empire Strikers, 19. It was a disappointing way for the season to end, but it was a great season overall. Head coach Onoa Bassi did his thing, and I would say the stage is set for what could be an interesting offseason and a promising future moving forward.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Coach Obasi came in, really changed the culture of the team around, got some guys in there that really understood how to play the indoor game, complimented Marco Fabian, complimented Justin Stinson, Mansoray. We could go down the list. It was an incredible season, a great turnaround, and for them to make the playoffs and then fight hard against the San Diego Sockers, who are now in the finals of the MASL Ron Newman Cup, was a great thing to see. And it does bode well for indoor soccer in the Inland Empire and in major arena soccer as a whole.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the reason why I sound like I just smoked a pack of Marlboro Reds is because I got back from the MASL postseason where I called 3 games with the legendary Nick Vassos. But anyway, we'll be talking a bit about the Strykers during the offseason. But for now, let's head on over to our conversation that we had with Jimmy Nordberg. Let's move on to that interview. We are now joined by an icon with the Empire Strikers organization and someone who has been there from the start and has represented the club in several key roles over the course of a decade. After serving as head coach for several seasons and leading the team to the 2021 MASL Final Series, he added on GM responsibilities, that's general manager, not General Motors, and would eventually transition entirely to the front office as an executive vice president. He's the man who helped finalize the addition of Marco Fabian and who has been instrumental in identifying and luring young trailblazing head coach Onoa Bassi to the Inland Empire. We are so honored to have with us Strykers VP Jimmy Nordberg. Jimmy, welcome back to Soccer in 60.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to hang out with you, my friend. I could see you're all buttoned up nicely. You came dressed to impress, so certainly appreciate that. And as you can see, I've come dressed too. Now, normally, when we have you on the show, we hope that you'll tease something exciting as far as personnel news, such as a big player signing. But today, the personnel news actually revolves around you for a change. why don't you tell those listening and watching the significance of this Tuesday, April the 15th? Or this coming, I should say, Tuesday, April the 15th.
Yeah, I spoke with Mr. Burham and the front office staff, and it's time for me to pivot into a different direction of my life. I've really enjoyed my time with the Empire Strikers and the Ontario Fury, and with the league and MASL, and growing the league, and everything that's happened, and getting to meet people like you, Philly, and Gunner, and everybody behind soccer in 60, and everybody involved in this sport's been terrific. They treated me with nothing but class. I've learned a lot. I've grown a ton as a coach and as a person, and learned a lot in the front office. But now I'm really going to focus on my family. I'm really going to focus on the youth game and this community with soccer. And I'm really excited about the next phase of my life. So I think the organization is in a tremendous spot, making playoffs. I think coach has done a hell of a job and is really moving the needle forward. So I'm excited for him, which ultimately made the choice very easy for me, because I know that everything's in good hands with the Empire Strikers.
I mean, I hear that, and I mean, I'm gutted by the decision. Obviously, you and I have more than like a working relationship. We have a really good friendship. I mean, couldn't have been an easy decision to make. I mean, like, what led up to it? And why did you feel like this was the right time to step away from the organization? Like, what were some of the moments that brought you to this? And I mean, you said it's going to be left with Obasi and it's in good hands, but was this something that came about more recently? Have you been thinking about it for a while? Like, what led up to this?
Yeah, last year in November, I actually was kind of like, it's just too much. Just because of my schedule and getting into the office and getting things done. I have 3 kids that honestly, that's where my priority lies. And my oldest son, Asher, is getting older, and I need to be more involved in his life. And my daughter Ella's playing soccer now. My youngest Finn is also playing soccer. So I got to be relevant in their lives. Otherwise, they're going to be off in college. And what are we doing? And ultimately, those are the 3 most important things in my life, is to be a part of their life and help raise them properly, and enjoy these years, because I'm never going to be able to get them back. And juggling youth soccer with MASL and the Empire Strikers wasn't going to work. Something had to give.
Well, I applaud your efforts and desire and decision to do that. So nothing but respect for you, my man. Looking back at your decade or so with the Fury / Strykers, what is your time with what has your time with the organization meant to you? And, what are some of the memories you will carry with you once all is said and done?
Yeah, I think, the COVID year was a special year. That team was unbelievable. Dealing with things that were going on in the world, and the way we were able to bring joy to this community in a tough time was epic. And just the real camaraderie with the team, and that was a really great year for us. I also think, just really embracing the soccer culture here in Southern California with the Fury and the Strikers, and seeing the kids grow and seeing the crowds in the arena get bigger and bigger and bigger. And what Mr. Burnham's done for the league is an exciting thing. And then, I'll never forget when I brought you on, Philly, and that changed our franchise. So that type of stuff brings a lot of joy to me. So I think I'll cherish those moments, and I'll never forget those times. And I'm always going to be rooting for the purple and black to do well. And I'm super excited about the next phase.
And I appreciate you saying that. You're going to get me all choked up. I'm an emotional guy, as you know. Speaking of emotional guys, like when we spoke to club legend Israel Cisse about his retirement recently, he said he didn't want to go out on a losing season, which is why he decided to hang up his boots this year with the Strikers making the playoffs. One of the main architects of the current roster and technical staff. You managed to reach the postseason for the first time since 2021. Like, how do you feel about the state you're leaving the club in and what's ahead? You said it's in good hands, but give us a little more, expand upon that.
Super positive. I really think the face of this league and the face of this club is Justin Stinson. He's a young kid that's had an absolutely fabulous year. And I think that we all know that his talents are unreal. So I think building around him is something very, very special. Mo, Monir Alame came in and had a terrific season. So lots of young talent on this team. And I think coach has got a system of play and a philosophy that the guys are buying into. So I would expect us next year to make a deeper run. I think this team will make a deep run in the future. I think this is a destination where players want to come play. So now that we've assembled a pretty strong roster, I think you're going to see a lot of people want to come play for coach and this organization.
And a lot of that, not all of that, is obviously attributed to you. And losing you is, a gut punch, a kick to the nuts, and a punch to the jaw. And forgive me for saying it in such a crass way, because that's how I feel. I'm happy for you, 100%. I know your wife Sarah's going to be happy as well as all the kids. But just know this, man, from the bottom of my heart, I love you, buddy, and I'm sincerely going to miss you and wish you nothing but the best. You better be around that arena a little more, at least on game days. And you're always welcome in the booth. If you ever want a set of cans to come hang out with me and Artie on the broadcast next year, you're always welcome. I got nothing but love and respect for you. And again, I just wish you all the best.
Lots of love for you too, Phil. I think our friendship is great, and I hope it continues strong. So, and I will be around. I'll check in on the guys and check in on the team for sure. I'll always be a Strykers fan. So it's just time to flip the page and move on to the next chapter of life.
Appreciate that. On behalf of myself and everybody within the Fury/Strykers and the listeners out there and everybody in MASL, thank you for all the time that you put into this. And again, nothing but the best. Thank you, Jimmy Nordberg.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the time, Philly.
All right. You heard it. Jimmy Nordberg. Breaks my heart. I can honestly sit and talk with the rest of the pod about how much love I have for Jimmy. But we'll save that for the Soccer and 60 Patreon account once we get that started. So from the Empire Strykers to a team that did not lose this weekend, Angel City FC. And I'm not saying that they would have lost, because I'll tell you what, things look pretty good at BMO Stadium for Angel City FC, but they didn't lose because, well, they didn't play. So you don't lose if you don't play. So that kind of ends that scenario, but doesn't mean we don't have anything to talk about right there. They're going to be welcoming the Houston Dash. What is it with all these LA teams and competing against Houston in this last week? But yes, they welcome in the Houston Dash, Tim. The head-to-head series, the Dash have won once. Angel City has won once. Interestingly enough, they've drawn 4 times.
Yeah, I find it fascinating that's the way this that series has gone, that they are so competitive against each other, especially when Angel City had fallen on hard times last season. They were always competitive against the Dash. And the Dash come into this one 1-1-1. Angel City is still undefeated. And I think this is going to be a really fun game to watch, just because of how well they've always played against each other. But also that I'm just interested to see how this experiment of not having a coach is going to go into game number 4. I'm fascinated by watching Angel City now play every week, or this past weekend not play, just because of how they are responding to not having a coach versus having a coach rushed in there, jammed the system down their throat that they weren't going to understand. But they're going to come in with the system that they have played very well so far this season, Philly.
I don't think it's a question of them not having a coach. I think we know who their coach is. All they have to do is the inevitable: remove the interim tag. Perhaps not the longest or greatest body of work, but you said it, undefeated. They've been competitive in every single game this season. So I would say the more you wait, the harder it's going to be to change the system around. So just give it maybe another couple weeks and remove the term interim, and all will be well. For the Houston Dash, what that means is the return of 2 girls that donned Angel City colors. Paige Nielsen, who has a goal on the season. And let's not forget about Messiah Bright, who's got herself an assist as well. So, these are a couple players that are coming in to BMO Stadium, and there's anything I will say about the Angel City supporters, they certainly love to welcome back some of their players that have been gone. I know losing Paige Nielsen was really upsetting for a lot of the Angel City faithful. I mean, Paige Nielsen was a big part of that team, and it didn't seem like she wanted to leave. It was a frustrating thing. And when she came back, she actually made her presence felt. So that's a couple of players to look out for as far as the Dash are concerned. So keep your eyes out on them. And of course, Maggie Graham is their leading scorer with 2 goals on the season. So just a couple of names to drop into the hat for you all to make sure that you pay attention to.
Right. And the back line is going to have to be shored up and take care of those, because if you've got these ladies that are swinging down the right wing and through the middle, dropping dimes into the box, you're going to have to, the goalkeeper is going to have to be on point this weekend for Angel City. And that back line is going to have to really be solid and strong. Otherwise, the Dash could make this another victory on their season and go to 2-1-1. So what I'm really looking for is a big, strong performance. I'd like to see 2-3 goals, but I think this is going to be one of those games where it's going to be 1-1, 2-1 type of game, Philly. I'm not seeing a 3-2 scoreline or a 4-1 scoreline in this one.
Well, if it's 2-1 in favor of Angel City, then we would consider that a darn good result. No question about that. If there's anybody that's giving us some hope here in the greater Los Angeles area that plays in the top flight of outdoor soccer, it's got to be Angel City. Because, look, I know people aren't thrilled with how the Galaxy have been performing. I know plenty of people, including myself, aren't thrilled with how LAFC is performing. At least at Angel City, they give us something to smile about.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Angel City is always, they always fill the stadium. Everybody has always been cheering and screaming with a smile on their face, even in the tougher times out at BMO when Angel City are there. They're always filling that place up. So it's good to see them playing well. It's good to see a ton of people in the stands. A lot of younger players. A lot of younger people are getting in the stands watching Angel City play. And that's really bodes well for the longevity of women's soccer as a whole, but especially here in LA.
Oh, no, I agree. I mean, I love going to the Angel City games. And if you haven't been, I highly recommend it. The only other atmosphere that might rival it would be Portland. But Angel City, the supporters of BMO definitely can hack it. So we go from talking about a brighter note on our show to another sour note. The guys just are not getting it done, Tim. They're not getting it done in LAFC. They're not getting it done at the LA Galaxy. They didn't get it done at the Empire Strykers. And Lord knows right now to start, they aren't getting it done in Orange County. So you, as our resident Orange County expert and lone resident of this entire group of people that does reside beneath the orange curtain, take it away. Let's hear how they fared out against the Las Vegas Lights.
Yeah, so they did not do very well against Las Vegas Lights, but let's get right in. I had a great conversation earlier with defender midfielder Nico Benalcazar, and this is a fantastic interview. If you don't like Nico after this interview, you're not human. So let's get to that interview right now. Our guest today has turned heads with the stellar performances as a first-year player with USL Championship side Orange County SC. Originally from Connecticut, he came up through the youth academy of New York City FC before starring at Wake Forest and later playing for the second teams of NYFC and fellow MLS club FC Cincinnati. He's a former U.S. Youth International who has started all 4 of Orange County games to kick off the 2025 campaign. It's such a joy to have with us today defender midfielder Nico Benalcazar. Nico, welcome to Soccer in 60.
Thank you so much. Great to meet you guys.
Great to have you as part of the show today, Nico. I mentioned in the intro that you previously played for Wake Forest and within the NYFC and FC Cincinnati organizations. That means you didn't exactly stay local when you packed up and left for SoCal. How did the opportunity with Orange County come about, and what made you decide that this was the right move for you at this point in your life?
Yeah, so towards the end of January, I received a call, and they said to come, train here and sort of go on a small little trial. And at the time, I had nothing. I think this past off season was a bit tough for a lot of players around the country, and I felt like having any opportunity, I would be ready for it and show what I can do. And I came in. I thought I did really well, and I'm happy to end up here for sure.
All right, cool. Yeah, I did say NYFC, but it's actually NYCFC. So sorry about that, guys, out in New York. My producer caught that, so thanks, Mr. Gunner. You're from a small town in Connecticut called Wilton, and so SoCal suburbia is quite unique from there, and probably also different from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which is where you went to college. I wonder how you've adapted to the Orange County lifestyle over the past couple of months, and what do you do when you're not on the soccer field? And do you plan on taking up surfing?
Yeah, I definitely want to start surfing soon. But yeah, no, compared to where I've been my whole life, it's obviously way different. The weather here I think it's rained twice since I've been here, so you can't really compare that to anywhere I've been. I think it rains twice every week back at home. So it's definitely a blessing to be living here, and especially living so close to the ocean. To answer your second question, what do I do on outside the field? I've actually been going to Laguna Beach a lot, and I sort of just hang around there at different coffee shops just to do some work on my computer, just chill by the water and listen to the ocean. In Connecticut, we have the Long Island Sound, so it's not necessarily the main ocean, but and it's definitely not as hot as there as it is here, during these months. So no, I sort of just like being outside. I've never been the type to play video games a lot, so a lot of the stuff that I do is outside near the beach, or just trying to experiment different things. I know last week I went on a hike at one of these local mountains that's close to my apartment here in Lake Forest. So no, it's been great so far, and I'm just trying to take it all in.
That's awesome. Nothing like Maine Beach in the spring and the summer, I tell you that much.
It's unbelievable.
Hey, I understand that you've got a couple older siblings who both play soccer, and a father who also was your coach growing up. Sounds like a family that was all about soccer all the time. Is that pretty accurate? Or did you do other things that you enjoyed doing for fun? Paint a picture of life growing up in Wilton.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So no, my brother was 6 years older than I was. And he was like the brains of the family. He's a super smart kid. He's a doctor now. So anything I need, any smartness related questions I might have, I'll go to him. My sister's a nurse now, so they're both in the hospital section of things, and some of the stories they have are kind of disgusting, but I let them talk. But no, yeah, growing up, my dad played when he was growing up. He's from Ecuador, so it's that Hispanic culture of sports. Soccer is obviously the biggest sport over there. So growing up, the game, I was always around it. I remember one of the earliest stories that my parents had from me was during one of my brother's games. I must have been 2 or 3 years old. I just ran onto the field, with a bunch of 8, 9-year-olds, and I was trying to go for the ball, and obviously the game had to be stopped, and they had to run onto the field to pick me up. But yeah, no, I mean, I would pretty much summarize it like that. I was always, trying to be like my siblings, trying to see what they did and try to emulate that any way I could. So, my sister obviously played as well. She could have gone to a very good D2 school. I think they won the national championship when she was committed, and then she just ended up saying, "Hey, I just want to do, focus on school." And you can't really blame her either. She's also really smart, and they love to do the school portion of things. So no, I mean, growing up, my parents definitely instilled in us, hard work and in all facets of our lives. So it's definitely fun. Wilton, like you had said, it's a small town. Definitely no palm trees there, but it was fun growing up. There's a lot of fields. We had a dog growing up as well, so we would play with him pretty much every single day, and it's just it was like a tight knit community, and I still feel that today when I go back.
Oh, I love it. Hey, you guys just dropped a really frustrating game out in Las Vegas, giving up the only goal in second half stoppage time. Although Zubak did have a really nice header that clanged off the bar in the first half, the team did seem to struggle a little bit creating chances. Looking back, are you more critical of the attacking performance Or are you more focused on a strong defensive display that actually almost earned you a point out in Vegas?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I would say as a defender, you always want to, get a clean sheet. So I would say that's definitely bothered me a bit more because, in soccer, if they don't score against you, you can't lose. So I would take, a big part of that. I know a lot of the whole team, pretty much is super frustrated that we did lose, but I felt like there were some good moments in the game and some things that we can look positively, towards moving into this next game and into this next, 4 games that we have in a short span of time. So I would say it's definitely good, to move forward from it. But I think learning from these experiences is super important. And with the same breath, I'd say, we have 3 games, I think, in the next 7 days. So if we can do anything to get maybe possibly 3 wins, I think, people will forget about this annoying result and we can move forward from that.
Yeah, that's great. So you played at a midfielder the first 3 games of the season, then you moved to center back against Las Vegas, lining up with alongside English veteran Tom Brewitt.
Mm-hmm.
What was your thought? What was the thought process behind moving you to the center back, and where do you feel you have the most to offer the team?
Yeah. I mean, everyone always asks me what my best position is, and I always say, I'm a soccer player, so I feel like wherever I'm put, I can, I can help the team, and I can do a lot. I value a lot my leadership, on the field. So I know from the back you can definitely talk to a lot more people, and versus if you were in the middle, because you can only see certain things on the field. But at the same time, I feel like I can help the team in both positions. I know, like you had said, the first game I did, I think it was like 60 and 30. Started off at center back and then played center mid, and then the next 2 games we played center mid. And it's just because of different injuries that we've had within the team. And I would say once we can get a more consistent lineup, that center back position alongside Tom, who I've grown to know a bit more as I've been here, could be a great partnership.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, you mentioned some injuries with like Tristan and a few other guys, right? You get that more consistent lineup, I think it'll definitely help out the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you guys did have a strong start with the season opener with a 4-2 win at home, but have gone winless in the last 3, being outscored 2-6 over the course of 1 draw and most recently 2 losses.
Mm-hmm.
Orange County didn't score in either of the past 2 games. Being in the locker room every day, what's your sense about how the team is responding to these challenges so early in the season, and how concerned are you about it personally?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think within the group, we've all had a pretty positive mindset moving forward. I think a message that's been thrown around a lot is, the intention at what we're doing things. So we obviously know it's a tough 2-game stretch. Even the tie against a tough Lexington team was a frustrating result because I thought we had done enough to come out with a win. But I think, as a, pretty new team, a younger team going through this stuff now can only, make us move forward, in a more positive way. I think learning these lessons and going through these experiences now with players that are old, like the Kyle Scott, Kevin Partita, Tom Brewitt, like you had said, who are, basically telling everyone in the locker room how this league works week in and week out, I think can only benefit us moving forward. And I think you have a good amount of other players coming in who obviously love the game, but more importantly, love winning. So that fire that we know that we have in practice every single day, I wouldn't say anyone's worried about the results that would come. I think it's more so that once we get this down, once we play how we know we can play, it'll be a great season for us.
Yeah, and building on how you know you can play, next up for Orange County is a home game against Sacramento, which is sitting 3 spots ahead of you and has looked solid defensively, but has struggled somewhat offensively. I'm not sure the term 6-pointer is necessarily appropriate this early in the season, but whoever loses will definitely start to feel some pressure. What have you guys seen from Sac Republic this season, and what do you feel will be the key to Saturday's match?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely a great team. We watched a little bit of film on them yesterday. I mean, obviously Sacramento, they've had a long history, even with moving up to the MLS, that they have a good environment over there. So, I mean, yeah, they're definitely a good team. I think on our end, like I had said, before, if we play how we know we can play, I feel like we can, be confident going into any team against anyone, in the league. But, that starts with us. I think and I think Danny, our coach, he's mentioned a lot that, going into games, we need to be more so worried about ourselves than adjusting to how our other teams play, because, we want to be on that other side where they're worrying about us. And I think the more we can do that, the more we can play, our brand of soccer, how he's, taught us through preseason, I think we can be a very strong team.
Yeah, Coach Stone has got that great calming presence in the locker room, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, he's great. He's been great so far, and everything about him, how he motivates us tactically. I mean, all the drills that we do, it's definitely helped the team a lot.
Awesome. Hey, one final question for you today, Nico, and we really appreciate your time. Although you've represented the U.S. at the youth level, you also have Ecuadorian citizenship. You mentioned that about your dad, and it's been reported that one day you'd like to play for the Ecuador national team. How strong would you say your emotional ties are there? Do you root for Ecuador as much as the U.S., maybe even more?
Yeah, I would say it's, they're pretty much tied. Growing up, obviously playing for the U.S. is a great honor. I mean, all the age groups that I had growing up was amazing. I played with great players. Some of my young teammates, even growing up, are, stars on the U.S. men's national team now. So, I mean, yeah, I definitely feel the same amount of time. I think this past World Cup, and not even past 3 years ago World Cup, if time flies, with Ecuador, they had a strong team, and every time they would play, my family got together. We would, have Ecuadorian food, we would eat, and we'd watch the game. So I would say it's pretty equal. Like I had said, I would love to play with them. When I was growing up, there was never really a moment where I spoke with them, but as I've gotten older, there's been more conversations. So I hope to, I mean, any team that calls me up would be great. I would go there, willingly. So, I mean, yeah, I would say they're equal. My grandma lives over there now. So, yeah, I have a ton of family over there. So, I mean, I would gladly represent either country for sure.
That's awesome. Hey, Nico, man, it's been great having you join us today on Soccer in 60. Good luck the rest of the way. Good luck this weekend against Sacktown. And let's go Orange County.
Thank you so much. No, Tim, great to meet you guys, Gunnar. Thank you guys again, and I hope to see you guys soon again.
Awesome. Thanks, Nico.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Dude, Philly, I had the greatest time talking with Nico. He is just a great dude, and he is a dude's dude. He is, he's from Connecticut. One of the first things he said in that interview was, "It's sunny every day. I love it here." He just had a smile on his face, Philly, and it was just fantastic talking to the guy.
Well, you said if you didn't like him after the interview, you weren't human. What if you really liked him after the interview? Does that make you superhuman?
Absolutely. They do have a game coming up. They've got a couple of games coming up. One of the fun ones that's coming up is they've got Gnarly's birthday this weekend. So get to the party with Gnarly. They've got a great thing, and then they're going to go play in the U.S. Open Cup. This is a big deal. Orange County made a big deal of this event last year. They're going to go play on the road up in Lancaster against Antelope Valley on the 16th. So make the trek out to Landscatter. It's going to be a good time. Go cheer on the Orange County boys and have them bring home a win against Antelope Valley. It'll be a fun one.
All righty, and that brings us to our best 11. But this week, we've sliced this sucker by some. With the way all teams had performed over the last set of days, and with the fact that no keeper really did anything at all, we kept it to an LA's Elite Six, and we'll leave it at that. LA's Elite Six. No goalkeepers because, well, no wins. So when you don't have any wins, why would you have a goalkeeper in there? And no goalkeepers from the Empire Strykers either because, well, games still resulted in losses, and we didn't have any scores from the likes of Brandon Gomez or Brian Orozco. So we're utilizing some indoor soccer, 6, just because of, well, we are. So defender from the LA Galaxy, Carlos Garces, for his performance against Real Salt Lake. The midfielders, Marky Delgado and Igor Jesus for LAFC, although I do scratch my head at this one, mainly because Igor Jesus basically gets the credit for the assist that led to the third goal for Messi. Well, we could talk about that momentarily. And then your forwards, Denis Bouanga for LAFC against Miami. Probably should have scored a goal. Gabriel Peck for the Galaxy in the CONCACAF Champions Cup Leg 2 quarterfinal against Tigres. And also Joseph Painsil, who out of everybody on this list, I'll tell you this, he's the one that deserves it, mainly due to the fact that he did punch in a goal in the game against Tigres. Now, there's arguments to be made about Gabriel Peck. There's probably arguments to be made about Aaron Long because, well, he did score in LAFC's game against Miami, but let's chat about this one for a moment.
You know, I'm finally buckling to you, Philly. I don't like to say it, so I won't say his team name, but I'm loving to see Marky Delgado on this list again. I agree with you. Joseph Paintsill is the most deserving on this entire list because Paintsill, since he's come back from injury, he has just been the man. He looks out there. He's already in game shape just a couple of games in. He ran his guts out against Tigres a couple of nights ago. He looked strong. And to get to that, even with the keeper slipping a little bit, he was going to get to that ball either way.
I mean, I think they're synonymous with each other. Wouldn't you say so?
I would say so. So sleeping, slipping, Pinso was going to get to that ball. And if he had gotten to it and the keeper hadn't been sleeping on the ball, keeper would have taken him down and it would have been a penalty. So for him to get to that ball and then calmly and coolly take a touch and then bury it past not only the keeper, but a backtracking defender, Paintsill is definitely my choice on this list.
Fair. I do think that Aaron Long deserves something on this list. Maybe like a super, yes, he's listed on our super subs, but maybe a better honor, like a super sub honorable mention, because Aaron Long's goal almost put LAFC into the semifinals of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Had they not given up that extra goal, that would have been it. All LAFC needed to do was score one and hang on and not allow Inter Messi to score three. But case could be made about Aaron Long being on this list. And truthfully, a case could be made for Empire Strikers Polo Hernandez for picking up 2 assists, one to Marco Fabian, the other one to Munir Alami in their loss at Front Wave Arena against the San Diego Sockers just this past Friday. Now, our producer Gunner is saying super subs are honorable mention. Yes, but because of Aaron Long being so special, it should say super super sub honorable mention. Just add that extra word in there so we all know that it has a little bit more pepper and spice on it.
Right. I would have definitely put Polo up in this top 6, maybe pulled out. Carlos Garces did play well. I think I would have swapped him out for Polo Hernandez, though. I think that's the other one that I would have made the change to, but that's why we have an Elite 6, and that's why we get to banter about it, Billy.
Yeah, or maybe we could have just done an 11 and just been on with it. But anyway, that's going to take care of the Elite 6. Folks, just want to say thank you so much for tuning in to our show. For those of you out there listening or watching, again, you could catch us on 1490 AM plus 98.1 FM in much of the Inland Empire, the KMED app, or KMED1490am.com, the Empire Strikers Instagram and YouTube page. Or if you can't catch us live, you can catch us on demand at the Empire Strikers YouTube page or most major podcast platforms. Just search for Soccer in 60 and you will get to hear the dulcet tones of a Philly, of a Timmy, of possibly a Nina or a Panda or anybody else. Anyway, that's all the time that we have for y'all on the show. You've been watching Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health Systems. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and we'll